Chapter 5. When I got home, everyone was sitting by the fire. "Catching fireflies, Nathan?" Uncle Elias asked. Sort of." I held out my hand full of moss. "It's foxfire for the depth gauge and compass." David beamed at me. "Nate, that's great, just great!" he exclaimed. "And you wanted to write Benjamin Franklin for a solution." "Yeah," I mumbled. "How silly of me. What was I thinking?" "Well, the foxfire is the missing piece to our puzzle," David said. "We're almost ready to test the turtle." "Elijah Fenton just got back from New York," Ezra said. "He says the harbor is packed with British ships, at least a couple of hundred. Someone told him it's the greatest expedition the British ever launched. General Washington sure has his hands full." David's eyes lit up. "It'll be like shooting fish in a barrel." "More like blowing up fish in a barrel, don't you think?" Uncle Elias asked, furry eyebrows arched. "That would be more accurate," David said. "Of course, there's no way we can attack 200 or 300 ships. But if we hit 1 or 2, it might put a scare in the rest of them and maybe they'd leave. It'd take the pressure off the Continentals." Uncle Elias nodded and looked at the fire thoughtfully. "I think you should go after Admiral Richard Howe," he said. "Sink the flagship and kill the top man. That would send a message to King George, by God." "Can you imagine how scared the lobsterbacks will be when their ships start blowing up in the middle of the night?" Ezra asked, "for no apparent reason." Uncle Elias shook his head. "That's the beauty of the turtle," he said. "It's something no one has ever seen in a war before. They'll have no idea what hit them." "That's why we have to keep everything so secret," David said. "If they find out how lethal the turtle is, they'll stop at nothing to destroy it." Minutes later we were stretched out on our straw mattresses in the loft. I heard the deep breathing of Ezra. He always fell asleep in about 4 seconds. I usually fell fast asleep too, but my guilt about writing to Benjamin Franklin hung heavily over me. I turned this way and that, burrowing into the straw like a pig, but nothing worked. "Nathan, what's the matter?" David whispered. I was surprised that David was still awake. He was the last person I wanted to talk to. "Well, Butch beat me up today, in front of Rachel." It wasn't a total lie, I reasoned. I'd been so worried about the letter that I hadn't had time to worry about my next beating from Butch. I told David what had happened with Butch. "Doesn't sound so bad to me," he said. "Heck, you knocked him on his back. You've never done that before." I hadn't thought of it that way. "Yeah, but it was in front of Rachel, and I was the one who ran away." "But you stuck up for her, remember? You went after him when he said that stuff about her father. I bet she noticed that." I hadn't thought of that either. "Go to sleep, Nate. You're going to need your rest. We've got to test the turtle and get it down to New York. The enemy is waiting." I closed my eyes. Well, that was one worry fixed, even if I hadn't worried about it yet. David was right. I had stuck up for Rachel. And if I'd done it once, maybe I could do it again. I stretched. In the faint firelight, I saw my toes poking out from the end of the blanket. They seemed so far away. I squinted. They were far away. Hey, I thought. I am big, bigger than Butch. So why did I always feel so small? David must have heard me sighing. "What's the matter now?" "Nothing," I said. "I can't sleep either." "Why?" "I'm thinking through the tests. I want to make sure everything works." I thought of the letter again for the umpteenth time that day. Dang, it was probably hoofing its way right now to a British officer in New York. In a split second, I decided to blurt out the truth. "David, I did write Benjamin Franklin about the turtle." For a few moments, all I heard was Ezra snoring. Benjamin Franklin? Really? The Benjamin Franklin? David sounded pleased, not angry. "I thought you might need help lighting the depth gauge and compass." David laughed. "I can't believe you wrote Benjamin Franklin about my little invention." "I figured if anyone could help, he could." David chuckled again, amused. "Yeah, I guess the greatest inventor in the world could figure out how to light an underwater boat." "I'm sorry, David. I know it was supposed to be a secret." Well, Nate, no harm done. Dr. Franklin is hardly a Tory. David was in a good mood. I decided to drop my bomb. No, but I think Mr. Pratt is. Pratt? What's he got to do with this? I think he may have read the letter. You think he read the letter? David repeated slowly. You remember the post writer? David slumped back on the mattress. Yes, I remember the writer. So you think he sent a warning to the British about the turtle? Wouldn't you if you were a Tory? Yeah, that weasel. David laid back down quietly, thinking for a few minutes. Suddenly he sat up and nudged Ezra. Wake up, little brother. We've got work to do.